really, really happy to welcome you today to this first conference on researching Canadian Black musics and Black musical cultures. My name is Leslie Sanders with Natasha Smith. We are the co-coordinators, conveners of this conference. At the start, I want first to bring to you greetings from the Honorable Jean Augustine, who was to be with us tonight, and I think the Prime Minister told her he wanted her in Ottawa, which is unfortunate, but she did send us a message, which I will read. She says, "Warm greetings to all of you for taking part in the very first conference researching Black Canadian music's Black music cultures in Canada. Music unites us in Canada, transcending differences of ethnic origin, skin color, or religious beliefs. As a source of inspiration for some time and a means of expression for others, music enables us to declare who we are while giving us new perspectives on the world. Canadian Black music is rich in its diversity. It deserves to be more widely known, and I'm delighted that this conference is examining its development and its future. From this conference, many new ideas and initiatives emerge, enabling Canadians of all backgrounds to discover the vitality of Black music in our country. As Secretary of State, Multiculturalism and Status of Women, I sincerely thank the Centre for the Study of Black Cultures in Canada for organizing this conference, and I salute all the volunteers and partners who are working to ensure its success, the Honorable Jean Augustine. Now I'd like to introduce the Dean of Atkinson Faculty of Liberal and Professional Studies, Rhonda Lenton, who is going to bring greetings from the university.
I'm not used to being introduced, so I usually start with introducing myself. Good evening, everybody. I'd really like to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of York University to our talented participants, to our faculty, staff, students, and guests. It's really our honor and our pleasure to be holding this first conference on researching Black Canadian music and Black music cultures. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend special thanks to Leslie Sanders and Natasha Smith, the co-organizers to this event, the many sponsors of this event, and to the student and staff assistants. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to stay with you this evening, although I will be joining you over the next 2 days. It was a very difficult choice, given Otis Richmond on the agenda, but my own daughter has her jazz and hip-hop dance performance this evening, and I think she is able to exert a bit more pressure on me than anybody else. So please enjoy this evening very much. I hope to see many of you over the next couple of days, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Rhonda. I just wanted to say a few words on my own behalf. It has really been a privilege and a labor of love to put this conference together. And a wonderful opportunity for history to be made, and it already started because it was already a really good session this afternoon and a wonderful reggae roundtable. And all of the roundtables, as you know, and all of the plenaries are being taped, and they will be available ultimately for archival purposes for research and on the net. So that's really wonderful. And I also want to say that a little bit about the genesis of this conference, which is the work of my co-convener, Natasha Smith, and she will explain a bit about how this came to be. But it does come from her research and her thinking and from the Center's determination to begin to fill in all those pages of African Canadian history and culture that have not yet been written and not yet put together. So I'd like to introduce to you the mind behind this conference, Natasha Smith, and also the person who persuaded you, I know, relentlessly to be here, many of the participants. Natasha.
Thank you. I have to say, I wondered sometimes if this day would ever come. It is a great joy and honor to welcome you tonight. As some of you know, my research in Black Canadian music history began with research on the African Nova Scotian Quartet, For the Moment. Probably in an attempt to get me to stop playing Sweet Honey in the Rock, a friend gave me one of For the Moment's albums. What was supposed to be a small master's thesis project kept expanding as the history pulled me deeper and deeper, to musicians of incredible vision and musicianship, and to lesser-known African Canadians in Nova Scotia, Quebec, Prince Edward Island, British Columbia, Manitoba, and Ontario, who use their talents to enrich community life. This research establishes that African Canadian music history can be documented at least as far back as 1775 and 1785, and I feel more deeply than ever that one cannot understand Canadian history without understanding African Canadian music history. When I gave the research talk, Imagining Black Canadian Music Studies, in October of 1991, I could never have imagined what was to follow. As Leslie noted, this conference is only a beginning. For every 2 musicians and researchers you see on the program, there are 2 others who could not attend. I hope that over the next 2 days, the contributions of those who could not attend will also be acknowledged, for they have also played crucial roles in the development of African Canadian musics. This conference also bears the signs that it was originally planned to be about half its present size, with only a couple of roundtables and performances. Each of the genres represented here and others that are not represented deserve a 3-day conference of their own. That said, the programming of this conference was a huge task and was guided by the advice and contributions of many people, including Archie Alleyne, Oswald Burke, Matt Galloway, Sharon McLeod, Nadine McNulty, Mark Miller, Jackie Richardson, and Norman Otis Richmond, as well as some of the members of the organizing committee. Thanks to everyone who answered our calls, helped us with contacts, and volunteered their time and expertise. A huge thank you to all of the musicians, radio hosts, and producers who have volunteered their time to come and speak at this event. And finally, a thanks to the members of the organizing committee who have worked tirelessly to organize and publicize this event. Thank you. And now, I am honored to be introducing the opening keynote speaker of this conference, Norman Otis Richmond. In truth, I think we are witnessing the second ever conference on Black Canadian musics. The first, Norman Otis Richmond, along with many others, has been convening for years. How else to describe the scope of Norman's achievement? Historian, broadcaster, journalist, music, art, and film critic, producer, news director, activist, the list is long. As anyone who has listened to him speak or write knows, Norman's knowledge of Black history on this continent and beyond is encyclopedic. He has been not just a pioneer, but a prophet. For before there was Flow and Word, before the Urban Music Association of Canada, before the National Jazz Awards and the Organization of Calypso Performing Artists, the very same year as the first Canadian Reggae Music Awards, Norman Otis Richmond co-founded the Toronto chapter of the Black Music Association. Those of you who were here know this history. For those of you who weren't, Norman was leading protest against the Junos before there ever was a reggae, rap, or R&B Juno Award. In fact, that was precisely the point. It was the Toronto chapter of the Black Music Association that fought for and helped win the introduction of reggae, calypso, and R&B Junos, desegregating, at least on some levels, the institution. As his April 17th share column demonstrates, Norman Otis will continue to agitate until Canadian calypso artists and all other world majority Canadian artists are justly recognized. Like the Toronto chapter of the BMA, Norman Otis Richmond's diasporic music has also played an important role in Toronto's music history, from its first broadcasts in 1981 until today. Norman's voice, across the airwaves, in music magazines, and in the community and national press, is truly an institution. His contributions to Toronto's music communities are indisputable, but Norman's vision has always been diasporic. In 1984, Norman Otis was elected Vice President of the UN Conference on the Cultural Boycott of South Africa. In 1992, Norman dedicated his Toronto Arts Award to Assata Shakur, Geronimo Pratt, the African National Congress, and Fidel Castro. Norman has also been honored with a Bob Marley Award, a Peter Tosh Award, a Keeper of the Flame Award, and a Lifetime